Welcome to Australia and the beautiful Crown Melbourne, host of the Southern Hemisphere's premier poker tournament, the 2008 Aussie Millions. The week began with a record field, but one by one, many of poker's biggest names were sent to the rail.
No one runs as bad as I do.
Tonight, things get serious. A field that began at 780 will get narrowed down to the final 7. Among the survivors, the methodical and experienced Eric Seidel.
I think the experience will help, but I don't think it means I'm going to win the tournament. I think it gives me a slightly better chance to win the tournament.
And the unpredictable, stylish pro, Max Pescatore.
Well, I know I can go all the way, but you need cards, luck, and you need perfect play.
But standing in their way, a host of challengers, including a wild card left in his field, Antonio Casale, a local favorite who has never before played for stakes this high.
You don't block me. Even if you throw in all on the flop, I still call you.
Tonight, see who'll survive and who'll be sent packing, and who'll be one step closer to collecting $1.65 million and being crowned Aussie Millions champion. FullTiltPoker.net presents the Aussie Millions. And we welcome you to the Crown Melbourne complex here in Australia, hard on the banks of the Yarra River. Day 4 began with 22 players, but already 4 hopefuls have been knocked out. 18 now remain. Along with Michael Koenig, I'm Barry Tompkins. Michael, who's still with us?
We've got 22-year-old American Dane Lomas. He's third in chips with more than $1 million. And our chip leader, Melbourne native Antonio Casale, who claims to have played at the Crown in low-limit games every day since the casino opened back in 1997.
Now, Michael, we've also got Eric Seidel, 8 World Series of Poker bracelets. That's tied for 4th all-time.
Another World Series of Poker bracelet winner, Max the Fisherman Pescatore.
So let's take a look at where we stand right now. The chip count at our main table, Nico Bailing is up top, and Pescatore nipping at his heels. Seidel actually below the mean of 860,000. The blinds, 6,000 and 12,000 with a 2,000 ante. And Eric Seidel first to act, and he folds. Now Pescatore. King Little suited. And he's going to raise to 30,000. 22-year-old German, Nico Bailing, he folds. So too does the American Stephen Miller. Now over to Peter Mobbs. Mobbs with the King 5 suited. And the Melbourne native will make the call.
He gets a discount in the big blind. And what a flop.
Ace, Jack, 10 of diamonds.
Mobbs has the absolute nuts and checks it over to Pescatore.
And Pescatore will bet 35,000.
Mobbs loves that. Surely he won't raise here. He just calls. He's got his fisherman on the hook. Now he just wants to reel him in.
Now the turn, a 4 of spades. And a check for Mobbs.
Now Pescatore took his shot on the flop, and I think he's now giving it up. He realizes his bear king. Oh, but that card there, Barry.
A queen of hearts.
Yeah, that's the one card that could probably cost Max Pescatore additional chips. It's given him a straight.
And Mobbs is going to bet 40,000. Now what does Pescatore do?
Pescatore is going to have to pay the tariff.
And gets the bad news from Mobbs, who wins the first pot of the night, and it's a good one.
Which one does he want to play?
Nice flop.
You want to play the straight or the flush?
I think I might play the flush on that one.
Well, the flush was certainly good to Peter Mobbs right there. He'll take it, thank you very much. Meanwhile, we'll head downstairs, check in on Antonio Casale. He's our chip leader coming into today. He's called the all-in of Hiroshi Shimamura. Casale is dominated. He's going to need help on the flop. And here is the flop. Jack, 9, Trey, a safe flop for Hiroshi.
Hearts.
Casale pleading for running flush cards.
Now the turn, a 7 of spades.
Well, that card gives Casale a straight draw, so Hiroshi needs to dodge a 10 or an 8, or he will double up.
And we go to the river. It is a 6 of hearts on the river, and Hiroshi's going to double up to 575,000.
It's bad for my health.
Well, a great early double up for Hiroshi, but not a huge hit to Casale's stack. He's still over 1.2 million. Quickly over to table 29, Maximilian Brock has moved all in for his last 450,000, and he's been called by the 21-year-old Russian Alex Kostritsin. Kostritsin has Brock in bad shape. And a flop pair of sevens and a 3. Brock looking for a king. The turn's a 6. Alex still in the lead. Brock's going to need a king. Or his tournament's over. It is an 8. Kostritsin will win the hand. That's going to knock Brock out. He will finish in 18th place and take home 100,000. So the Russian, who plays in some of Moscow's biggest cash games, now up to 1.8 million in chips. And guess what? We have a new chip leader. Let's see if he can handle the pressure of leading one of the world's biggest tournaments.
Mom? Dad? Okay, I know I've been with Charles for 6 months now, and I know you're probably wondering why I haven't brought him home to meet you. Okay, here's the thing. I'm ashamed of him.
Good at bluffing? Play poker online at partypoker.com. It's fun, it's easy, it's the world's largest poker room.
Welcome back to FullTiltPoker.net's coverage of the main event of the 2008 Aussie Millions. We'll pick up action downstairs in the poker room. Hiroshi Shimomura, who recently just doubled up, pushed all in with pocket tens. He's been called by another Melbourne native, Mike Chrysantopoulos.
Yeah, and Chrysantopoulos flopped an ace, so now Shimomura will need a 10 or a club to stick around this tournament.
And the river is a 4 of hearts. That's going to do it for Hiroshi. He'll be knocked out by Michael Chrysantopoulos in 17th place. He'll earn 100,000 Australian, about 90,000 American, and that puts the 26-year-old local amongst the chip leaders with 1.25 million. So here's where we stand. We began with 780 players. We now have 16. Our chip leader, Alex Kostritsin, but he's got plenty of company behind him. I'm Barry Tompkins, along with Michael Koenig. And Michael, we've got 14 players left, about whom very little is known, and 2 players with World Series of Poker bracelets, in Max Pescatore and Eric Seidel. They've got to be the favorites, I would think.
Perhaps to their friends and family, but come on, 14-2, pretty good odds for the everyman. And remember, we are in day 4. The longer these newcomers stick around, the more their confidence grows. Reputation, it's great, but to win the Aussie Millions, you're going to need a lot of chips.
Lines are now 8,000 and 16,000 with a 2,000 ante. Dane Lomas now joins the feature table. He began the day 3rd in chips, now finds himself below the chip average.
Also joining us, a bottle of antacid Max Pescatore has picked up during the tournament called Eno.
Oh, it's Lucky Charm. They always give me bad beats in the tournaments, but in Italian this says not this time.
Eno?
Eno.
Oh.
So I've seen a lot of Lucky Charms at the poker table. Well, you know what? Antacid might be about the most appropriate thing.
Why not? Action continuing now. Peter Mobbs will fold. So does Eric Seidel. Now Max Pescatore. And not going to need the Eno here. King 10 suited. Raises to 40,000. Action now folds around to Stephen Miller. And Miller with an ace-jack.
Yeah, and that's the right play for Steve Miller. Only has about 100,000 left.
I don't think I can fold. How much is it?
Well, it's 64,000.
And that's going to price Max Pescatore into this pot.
And he makes the call.
Steve Miller does have the best hand, but as you see, he's only going to win 60% of the time.
I would say good luck, but you're against me, and I don't mean it.
Likewise.
So with those gestures, we come to the flop. 6-4 deuce on the flop.
Great flop for Miller. He'll just need to avoid running diamonds or a king or a 10.
Oh, 8 of diamonds. Look out.
Now Stephen Miller is saying, Eno, no diamond, no king, no 10.
And here is the river. And it is a 10. And Max Pescatore is going to eliminate Stephen Miller. Pescatore will win 228,000.
Steve Miller leaves with 100,000 and a story about being beaten by a joker from Italy.
Well, Max is a good player. He won his World Series bracelet back in '06, the very same day Italy won the World Cup. He's got a true passion for the game of poker and his country.
Hi, I'm Max Pescatori. I'm from Milan, Italy. My nickname is Italian Pirate. I'm a professional poker player. The last name Pescatori means fisherman, which it's actually a pretty good name since there is many fishes in the poker world. In my country, we don't call them fish, we call them chickens. Chicken are afraid, but they run away. Fish, they're just there, and you just throw something, and you reel them in. So it depends on the player, actually. It depends on his style. There is chickens, there is fish.
So lucky! How lucky are you, sir? So lucky.
I love playing poker. I love what I do. I know I'm lucky. I worked hard for it, but I also know that I'm lucky for what I do, and so I'll try my best, and that's all I can really do.
First time you look at Max Pescatori, you may get the mistaken impression he's all flashy looks. The guy can play.
Can't play. I get the impression he's a member of the Italian water polo team. Well, the action now folds around to Eric Seidel. Seidel looking at an ace-queen.
That's right.
Raises it to 47,000.
Fold from Pescatori. Now Nico Bailing, and he'll fold as well. Dane Lomas now with a pair of sixes. He's in the big blind.
He will certainly call, if not raise. I like raising here. No, he just calls.
After having taken a long look at Eric Seidel. Come to the flop, Jack, 7, deuce, couple of spades.
That looks like a pretty safe flop for Dane Lomas, and he's going to fire.
60,000. And now Seidel.
And I'm not sure Seidel believes he has the best hand, but I do think Eric wants to find out how much Dane Lomas likes his hand, and he raises.
To 250,000. And there's a real stare down.
The onus is back on the youngster from San Diego.
Fold. And he's going to throw it away. So Dane Lomas folds. Eric Seidel playing like the professional that he is. Well, the old pro got a nice read on the youngster. Kind of showed the kid how to execute a bluff. 2008 Aussie Millions from the Crown Melbourne, where one player will follow Gus Hansen as this year's champion and take home $1.65 million in cash.
That's about $1.5 million US, although by the time this is in reruns, it will surely be less.
Eric Seidel going to throw that hand away. Now Max Pescatori with an ace-9 suited. Looks like he's going to raise it up. Does to 46,000. Nico Bailing now. 22-year-old German with an ace-10. He'll call. And now Dane Lomas should be a player with a king-queen.
And Barry, keep in mind, this is a short-handed table. We only have 5 players here. These are 3 extraordinary hands for so few players.
Nice. Lomas going to raise it to 175,000. That's enough to get Pescatori out of there. Now Bailing. It's going to cost him 129,000, and he'll call.
Bailing has position. He'll get to act last after this flop.
And here is the flop. 8-7-3, 2 hearts.
Everybody misses here. I think the guy who shows strength is going to win this pot.
And a check from Lomas.
I think if Bailing bets, it's all his.
How much is it? Almost 350 for 500.
Those are not the words you like to hear when you're on the short stack.
So Bailing going to count out a bet, and it is 150,000.
50,000.
I like that bet there. If Lomas were to come over the top, Bailing could still get away from this hand, but he showed just enough strength to rake it in.
So Lomas folds, and Bailing will do just that. He'll rake it in and win a sizable pot of 572,000.
I'd love to see that hand. I said I'd love to see that hand. You will. I guess.
Check your local listings.
Look at ace king.
Lomas getting short and a little frustrated, but he'll find out when he watches he made the right play.
Well, checking on things back downstairs, Alex Kostritsin is continuing his winning ways. He remains the chip leader at $1.9 million in chips.
Ah, not enough place. Yeah, I need another table. You have bigger one?
An unlikely leader of our tournament, all the way from Moscow.
But that chip lead may be short-lived as we join the largest pot of the tournament so far between Mike Chrysanthopoulos, who moved all in with ace-king, and Robert Holster, a 38-year-old painter from Australia, who called with the kings.
Chrysanthopoulos all in, tournament at risk. Oh, he got the ace on the flop.
Wow. Holster is stunned.
Holster is in terrible shape because Mike C has a king in his hand. There is, after the turn, the three of diamonds, only one card in the deck for Holster, the king of clubs. Otherwise, Mike C will double up and take the chip lead.
And here's the river. It is a three of clubs. Chrysanthopoulos wins another huge pot, over $2 million.
Holster's not out, but he is devastated.
And Chrysanthopoulos now leads the Aussie Millions in his hometown. Probably just a dream a few days ago when he gained entry to this tournament by winning a $120 satellite.
My name is Michael Chrysanthopoulos. I'm 26 years old, from Melbourne. I was a car salesman about 7 months ago. Now I've actually given it up and I play full-time poker. Body language is a big deal in car sales. You can also get a read if people are looking at actually buying or they're not, and the same skills apply on a poker table. I mean, if they're willing to go that extra step forward to see the next card and how much they'll pay for it. Everyone in Melbourne, everyone that I know down in the poker room is right behind me, supporting me. It's just amazing to be here, to make it this far. It cost me $120 to get through, and it's just amazing. I can't believe it. It's like a dream come true.
You know, aside from being, say, a professor in statistics, I can't think of an occupation that would prepare you better for tournament poker than car salesman. Look at that face. You want to buy a Pinto?
Maybe taking a limo home. Back to our feature table. Eric Seidel going to fold. Now Max Pescatori with an ace-king.
Pescatori's been getting some good cards here at our feature table.
Sure has. Going to raise it up to $45,000. Now bailing, and bailing with a king-queen.
And again, short-handed, we are seeing some big hands.
So bailing will call. Dane Lomas squeezes out a 10-9 suited.
Remember, he's short-stacked.
And he will call in the small blind. Now over to Peter Mobbs, the 27-year-old Australian, and it's too rich for him. So three players now to the flop. And it is a king 10-7.
Barry, that is an action flop. Everybody's connected. Lomas has middle pair. Both Bailing and Pescatori have top pair. Pescatori, of course, has the boss hand.
And he's going to bet $85,000. And now Bailing. And Bailing does have top pair.
Call.
And he'll call. Now Dane Lomas.
Well, Lomas, at this point, I think, has to give it up. One player bet out and another one called. He, well...
Re-raises to $225,000.
And that amount that Dane Lomas bet, I think, has now committed him for the rest of this hand. He might as well have just moved it all in, because now he's stuck with it. And we know Pescatori is going nowhere with that ace-king.
And Pescatori's going to push all in. And Bailey says thanks very much, but no thanks.
Dane Lomas can hope and pray that Pescatori has a draw, but I think he knows the truth.
Did it to myself.
And Barry, what Dane Lomas means by that is he sort of stepped into this predicament, and it's too late now to step out. There's just too many chips in this pot. Yeah, Lomas is going to call his last $230,000 and hope for the best.
Tournament life at stake, and it is a tenuous position for Lomas, to be sure.
No, no. No.
Well, a 3 of diamonds on the turn.
Lomas will need a 10 or a 9, or he's done.
To the river, it is an 8, and Lomas is done.
Dane Lomas started the day third in chips. A disappointing conclusion.
Well, there's no need for Max to take a swig of the old Ano bottle because a bad beat didn't come this time. The Italian pirate swimming in friendly waters. Welcome back to FullTiltPoker.net's coverage of the main event of the 2008 Aussie Millions. Let's take a look at the chip count on our main table. Nico Baling is the big stack. Second overall, Eric Seidel and Max Pescatore are hovering around the chip average. Mike Chrysanthopoulos still leads, just over 2.4 million. The blinds at our feature table, now 10,000 and 20,000 with a 3,000 ante. And joining the table, 2 Melbourne natives. That's Peter Ling on the left. And to the right, Antonio Casale, who was the chip leader entering the day. Ling is folded. Now Casale with an ace-king.
Nice.
And he's going to raise it to 60,000. Peter Mobbs folds. Eric Seidel squeezing out a 10-9 suited.
And looking over his chips, Wally the Wombat, a lucky charm given to him by an Australian.
And Wally and Eric both call. Pescatore will fold. Now Nico Baling. And he'll call. So 3 to the flop. 4 if you count Wally. Ace, Jack, 8, 2 spades.
This is a huge flop. Eric Seidel, straight and flush draw. Nico Baling, middle pair, he checks it. And Antonio Casale has top pair with the best kicker. He's going to fire. We're going to see a bunch of chips in this pot.
Casale bets 125,000 to Seidel.
And Eric Seidel, you see, just with a 10 high at this point, but his drawing odds are so high, he's actually a favorite. And he just calls. I think he wants to try to draw that man, Nico Baling, into the pot.
So now Baling going to mull it over and throw it away. So 2 to the turn. Casale and Seidel. King of diamonds on the turn.
Casale now has 2 pair. Nico Baling is silently cursing his bad luck. He doesn't know that he dodged a huge bullet. Big bet from Casale.
300,000.
Now, Seidel has gone from being a favorite to an underdog. This is a pretty good semi-bluffing opportunity, except we know it won't work. If Eric Seidel tries to push Antonio Casale off this hand, he will get called. He's just going to call, it looks like. Seidel looking for a 7, a queen, or a spade.
Deuce of hearts.
Seidel whiffs.
Come on in. All in?
And Casale goes all in, 655,000.
I'm starting to believe you might have something.
Yeah, I got 2 cards. They're both brown. What do you call that?
And Seidel has 2 cards, and the biggest one is a 10.
They call me the bluff machine downstairs.
This sales job is not going to work.
All right. Machine. Take it.
The professional fool.
Seidel good-naturedly folds, and Casale will pick up a huge pot.
The wombat's habitat is getting smaller and smaller here.
Casale is a 67-year-old from Melbourne. He still works as a civil engineer, rarely misses a day of work or a day of poker.
My name is Antonio Casale. I'm from Italy. I've been playing a clown for about 6 years.
He's one of the old masters from Crownman. Hard-working man. He's my pick to win from here.
I love to hear him, because I know that he's a lot of good player, and when you play poker, anything can happen here.
You don't bluff me. Even if you throw in all on the flop, I still call you.
My dad's work ethic is he works hard, always worked hard, never stops. We have a saying, you either work to live or you live to work. He lives to work.
My mother used to call me, you were like a donkey. Many times I've been sick with fever, I went to work. And she said, why? Oh, well, That's why I am.
He's not the type of person who can sit still at all. If he sits still, he goes nuts. He goes bananas. I've been telling him for years to retire. Retire, you're old. You come home every day, you complain, I got a sore back, everything's sore, this and that. He goes, what am I going to do if I retire? I go nuts. Even if he wins 1.65 million, he'll be at work on Monday. That's just the way he is. He'll never change.
What a work ethic. 30 years ago, Casale suffered a broken arm and a crushed vertebrae after a cave-in at work. The doctors told him he would never work again. Casale was back on the job 8 days later.
Why doesn't that surprise me? Back to our feature table now, and Nico Bailing with a pair of kings.
I want to be in the final 2 tables of the Aussie Millions when I'm any age.
Yeah, not bad, huh? Bailing raises to 55,000. Now it folds around to my hero, Antonio Casale. He's going to throw that away. Mobs likewise throws his hand away, and so does Eric Seidel. Now to Max Pescatore. He's in the big blind, and he's got an ace-8 suited.
He'll get a discount and call.
So 2 players to the flop, Bailing and Pescatore. Queen 7-4 on the flop, 2 hearts. Check from Pescatore.
With 2 hearts out there, I don't think Bailing wants to give a free card. He's reaching for chips.
And he's going to bet 80,000.
That probably should be it for Max, although he's fiddling with his chips, and he's going to raise.
Wow, to 255,000.
And you know what? I think that's a really good play by Max Pescatore. Unfortunately, he's picked a bad spot. Nico Bailing has a big hand, and he's not going anywhere.
Raise.
And he announces a raise. And he is going to raise it up to 555,000.
And now, this hand should be over.
And Pescatore throws it away. Bailing wins a very nice pot. So Max, caught trying to steal as Nico shows him who the real big fish is. We're coming back. Welcome back to the Crown Melbourne in the heart of downtown. The field continues to shrink as players get KO'd, and we inch closer to the final table here at the 2008 Aussie Millions. Here's where we stand right now. 11 players remain of the 780 who began. The average chip stack is now 1.4 million. Mike Chrysanthopoulos from Melbourne is our chip leader, but it is very crowded at the top. Back to our feature table. Peter Mobb's going to throw that away. Seidel also folds. Now Pescatore, a king-queen suited. Raising to 52,000. Too rich for Nico Bailing. And Peter Ling, an ace-10.
Call.
He'll call. 42,000.
6-handed ace-10 has got to look pretty big to Peter Ling.
Antonio Casale gets out of the way. 2 players to the flop. On the flop, king 7-6, 3 spades.
Pescatore top pair, Ling with a flush draw.
And check to Pescatore, who also checks.
That surprises me, Barry.
3 of spades on the turn, 4 spades on the board.
Now, what does Max Pescatore do? 4 cards to a flush there. If his opponent, Peter Ling, has any old random spade in his hand, Max Pescatore knows he's beaten.
So Ling checked to Pescatore again, who in turn checks.
I think Pescatore has probably just abdicated here.
10 of hearts on the river.
There's no way for Max to win at this point except bluffing.
Ling counting out chips here. Bets 100,000.
And the fact that Ling played this hand so slowly, checking the flop and the turn, I think this gives him a chance, Peter Ling, to get paid off by Max Pescatore, who sort of put himself, yep, he's going to call here.
Show me a bluff. You have a 10. Oh, a 10 of spade, you mean? It's not just a 10.
Oh, sorry, I flashed there. I thought it was obvious.
Well done.
And he doesn't mean it. Good luck charm of Eno, not doing much good for him right now.
Drink it, Max.
You can never trust the young guy. Never. God.
So I can trust the old man?
Of course, you can trust me.
Eno, which we know means not this time in Italian, may describe Max's chances of winning the tournament at this point less than 500,000.
Meanwhile, downstairs on table 31, our chip leader, Mike Chrysantopoulos, has called an all-in, but is trailing fellow Aussie Matthew Kirk. The flop is a Jack 8-4.
And Chrysantopoulos comes from behind again, spikes top pair.
So now it's Kirk that needs some help. Looking for an ace or running cards, it's a 4 of hearts. Chrysantopoulos still in the lead.
Kirk will need one of the 3 aces, or he's out.
And here is the river. It's a Jack of hearts that's going to do it. And Mike Chrysantopoulos takes care of Matthew Kirk, who will take home a nice paycheck anyway. Our chip leader, Chrysantopoulos, adds another name to his growing list of KOs. Welcome back to the Crown Melbourne and the 2008 Aussie Millions. Well, from your first steps inside.
Top pair, he checks it with, I believe, the intention of raising should Peter Ling bet. Here he goes.
He did go and went pretty big. 125,000.
Seidel is asking himself, does the Melbourne native have an overpair? If not, this is my chance.
Well, he just calls.
A little surprising, but Eric Seidel plays this game on a very high plane.
The turn is a queen of spades. Seidel checks to Ling.
Ling needs to keep selling this story if he wants to win. He fires a big bet.
325,000.
Put yourself in Eric Seidel's position. His opponent raised before the flop. He fired on the flop. He fired again on the turn. If I'm Eric Seidel, I'm thinking this cat is serious. And with just a pair of 7s with a 10 kicker, might have to let it go.
Come on.
He is going all in.
Eric Seidel has made a tremendous read of the situation. Peter Ling is...
Can't fold now, can I?
Yeah, he's pretty close to being priced into this pot, but man, he is drawing thin.
189 was it?
He's going to call, and Peter Ling will need a king or a jack. Otherwise, Eric Seidel, with a brilliant assessment of the situation, is going to win a pot of $1.4 million.
King or jack?
Here's the river. It is not a king or jack, it is an 8, and Eric Seidel is going to take down a huge pot.
That victory puts Seidel right back into this tournament. He's now in 6th place thanks to a very advanced poker play.
Well, there are just 10 players remaining now. We're going to head back to table 31. Alex Kostritsin is deciding whether or not to call the all-in of Nino Murata. Nino flopped a set of 4s. Alex has the queens.
Is it ace-3? Sorry? What do you have, ace-3?
Can't remember.
This is a huge pot and a really tough laydown for Kostritsin. Top pair, top kicker, but Murata's body language is pretty loose.
Okay, bluff me.
And Alex is going to lay it down.
Show you what.
Pocket 4s, Nino. Pocket 4s. Pocket 4s, baby! Baby! Yeah!
And Murata showing the set of 4s. Kostritsin made the nice fold.
Yeah.
Murata is our new chip leader, but I think he may have emboldened the Russian by showing Alex what a tremendous laydown he actually made.
Meanwhile, back at our feature table, Eric Seidel now in an excellent position. Jack 10 of hearts, and he's going to throw it away. Now Max Pescatori with an ace-queen. Pretty short stacked. He began the hand with 375,000 chips. Raises to 56,000, and the action folds around to Antonio Casali, squeezing out a pair of 8s.
How much you got left there?
321.
Rice?
Well, Casali announces a raise to 135,000. Mobs folds. Now Pescatori again.
Given his chip position, well, he just calls. I really expected Max Pescatori just to either move it all in or get out of the way.
3 spades on the flop. Jack, 6, deuce.
How much you left now?
241. 242.
I'll put you in.
So Casale is going to put Max Pescatore all in.
Pescatore has got the big flush draw with the queen of spades. And he's actually a small favorite. He makes the call for the last of his chips.
And Casale shows him the pair of eights.
For Pescatore to survive, he will need a spade, a queen, or an ace.
Come on, one time.
Hey, no.
No, of course, the lucky antacid, which Max Pescatore hopes to not have to take after this hand. 5 of clubs.
That's not bad. Keep it low.
Pescatore could be down to his last card in the Aussie Millions. He needs an ace, queen, or spade, or La Commedia e Finito.
You're not going to win this.
To the river.
Yeah.
It is a 7 of hearts. Antonio Casale will win the hand, and Max Pescatore will be eliminated in 10th place. He'll earn a check for 135,000 Australian, that's about 120,000 American dollars, and fall 3 places short of our final table. So Casale sends the Italian pirate packing and seeking a new bounty.
Hello, Mr. Cunningham. Alan, it's a big pot out there, buddy. I'm all in. Don't be scared.
I call.
Only a donkey would make that call.
We play at FullTiltPoker.com.
Back to FullTiltPoker.net's coverage of the main event of the Aussie Millions from the Crown Melbourne. While we were away, action continued in the poker room where Mike Chrysanthopoulos moved all in after turning a set of threes against Robert Akery of England. Akery made the immediate call with his 2-pair aces and threes. He needs an ace on the river to remain alive, but it did not come. 7 of diamonds, and the Englishman is eliminated in 9th place. He'll take home $175,000. That win put Chrysanthopoulos back in the chip lead at over $4.3 million in chips with just 8 players remaining. Chrysanthopoulos some 2 million chips to the good of Nico Baling. You can see Eric Seidel kind of in the middle of the pack amongst the leaders there. Peter Ling on the short stack. As is tradition of the Aussie Millions, when we do get down to 8, everyone joins the feature table until one more player is eliminated to reach our final table of 7. Peter Ling going to fold. So does Kostritsen. And Peter Mobbs as well. So now Nico Baling with an ace-5. He is in 2nd place now in the chip count.
Make it 65.
Can cruise into the final table. Going to raise it up to 65,000.
And making the final table just has more of a ring than I made the feature table.
Now he folds all the way around to Mike Chrysanthopoulos. And he's got an ace little.
And a whole bunch of chips.
And he will make the call, so our 2 chip leaders will go to the flop, Baling and Chrysanthopoulos. And on the flop, ace, queen, 3, 2 diamonds.
Big flop for Mike Chrysanthopoulos. He's made 2 pair. And Baling, of course, also has top pair with a weak kicker. By checking over to Baling, Mike Chrysanthopoulos has set a trap.
Baling bets 100,000 falling into that trap. Chrysanthopoulos going to count out a raise. Raises to 400,000.
Now, Nico Baling has to consider a couple of things here. First of all, in the short term, he's got to decide, is Mike Chrysanthopoulos pushing a flush draw? Trying to bluff him off the best hand? Is Mike Chrysanthopoulos taking advantage of his big chip position? And Baling is going to make the call. This is highly unusual, Barry. Usually the 2 big stacks try to avoid each other, pick on the smaller guys.
It is a 3 of clubs on the turn, a full house.
And Mike Chrysanthopoulos is turning cartwheels inside.
I'll bet he is. Does not show it, though. What is the right amount to play here?
And Nico Baling, looking at that board, is probably thinking, you know, I might have the best hand, Or unless my opponent has ace-king or ace-queen, I'm at worst going to split.
The bet is $550,000, and Bailing is going to call.
Bailing is clearly a disbeliever.
The river is a deuce of clubs. It's an irrelevant card, and now let's see what Mike C does.
I'm all in.
He goes all in. That would put Nico Bailing all in should he call. What a decision for the 22-year-old German.
Second in chips, cruising to the final table, and now he's thinking, am I playing here for just half the pot? Am I trying to call all my chips to split? Really, the only hand he can beat is an outright bluff.
I should have checked behind on the flop.
If Bailing folded here, he would still have 1.4 million.
Wow, look at that. You think he's nervous?
I think Mike Chrysanthopoulos is out of his mind with excitement. Above his neck, we see nothing but impassivity.
Yeah, his body posture belying a heart that's beating like a hummingbird.
I call.
He calls, and that's it. Mike Chrysanthopoulos will eliminate Nico Bailing. Bailing was sitting pretty in second place coming into this hand.
Barry, it is so crushingly disappointing to be on the brink, and then when it matters most, making a crucial misstep.
It was good playing with you.
Chrysanthopoulos gets spurned, but he has the overwhelming chip lead going to our final table.
A record-setting field began this tournament 4 days ago. 773 have left disappointed.
I would say good luck, but you know I don't mean it.
After a stunning end.
I should have checked behind on the flop.
Only 7 players remain.
They called me the bluff machine.
Each in search of the ultimate prize.
So I'm going to have a heart attack, I reckon.
Can Eric Seidel add another notch to his belt?
The Wombat's habitat is getting smaller and smaller here.
Or will one of these Aussies be crowned the next wonder from down under? For Michael Koenig, I'm Barry Tompkins. See you next week at the final table.